welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up. Now I have done kind of like a first 3 months of the year wrap-up, and I will link that so you can go ahead and watch it if you're interested to see what I've read so far, but this is going to be the April wrap-up just for this month. This month I actually read a lot of books. I read 7 in total, which is a lot for me, and I think just because of what's going on right now and we're all at home, I'm able to read a lot more books since I have breaks and I have more time to do reading and things like that. There's really nowhere to go, so I spend a lot of my time reading now, which is great. I'm actually enjoying reading a lot, but I do kind of miss being able to go out too. So let's get into it. The first book I read this month was The Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. Now this has been all over BookTube as one of the most popular books that has come out in the last few months, and everyone has a lot of opinions. Mostly the opinions on this book have been amazing. It's been raved about. Everyone loves it. It's apparently a really well done story, and there's been a couple of other opinions that have been really down on the book and found certain parts to be problematic. So I read it to get my own opinion on it. I did like the book. I like the story. I like the trope that comes out of it, but I do have some problems with how the couple kind of gets together. I also have problems with just like the way that like women are treated. I know it's supposed to be like kind of like semi-historical, even though it's set in a different world where women are treated a little bit not so great, but I don't have a problem with that. I feel like if you're going to invent a world, why wouldn't you want the world to be like equal? So I have certain problems with this, but it was a fun read. I just think it could have been better, but I think this is her debut novel, so I'm gonna let it pass. I know that Blood and Honey, which is the sequel to this, is coming out, I believe, in the fall, so I do want to pick that up because it's going to go into another part of the world and part of the magic in the world that I'm really excited to read about, so I'm going to be picking that up when it comes out. So I'm glad I read the first one to be able to get into the second one, and apparently now this is going to be a trilogy, so there's going to be a third one coming out, which I don't know when the third one is coming out since the second one is still on its way, but we will see. The next book I read was Wayward Son, and this is by Rainbow Rowell. This is the second book in the Carry On series. Now, I had heard a lot of amazing things about Carry On and a lot of not so great things about Wayward Son. I actually bought Carry On and I loved it, and I was glad that I bought it, and all of the bad things that I heard about Wayward Son made me not want to buy it, so I ended up just waiting for the ebook to be released in my library, and as soon as I was able to get a copy, I ended up borrowing it. I have to say, I think I gave this one like a 2.5 or 3 stars on Goodreads, but I didn't love it. It was fun for me because I love Baz and I love Simon and I love their dynamic together, but it was also pretty depressing in parts, and it felt like Rainbow Rowell was trying to mash up fantasy and contemporary and see if they could work in each other's worlds, but I didn't like the way that it happened. I do still love the characters, and I'm still so attached to Simon and Baz that I still want to read the third one that's coming out to see what happens, but I don't recommend Wayward Son if you really loved Carry On and really loved the Harry Potter vibes that Carry On gives you. Wayward Son is different from that. It's like the American road trip version with weird science fiction parts in it, and it was just not my cup of tea, but I'm so glad I read it because I do want to read the third one. Although unfortunately for this one I have to agree with the not so great reviews because I don't think that it was worth the hype. And the third book that I read is also one that I read as an ebook. I know everyone gets copies of this, but I just wasn't sold, and that is Saga Volume 1. I wanted to get into this series because I've heard about it so much, and I've wanted to read more graphic novels as well and just see where graphic novels are at now since I was in high school when I more or less stopped reading them. I like Saga. I think it's an interesting story, but it didn't captivate me in the same way that I think it's captivated other readers. I read another graphic novel this month that I'm going to talk about later in this video, and that one was amazing. It just blew me out of the water, and then after reading that one, Saga just seems okay. I do like the narrator in the story. I like that it's from the child's perspective, which isn't a spoiler because as soon as you read the first couple pages, you instantly know that that is the perspective that you'll be getting. And it is still a good story. I still want to read some of the other volumes. It's just not as good as other graphic novels that I've read. I also think that there are shock factors in the novel that try to capture your attention, and I don't really like that. I prefer content over shock, and I feel like sometimes the shock value in the story and in the graphics themselves try to make it a better read when it kind of makes it a worse read for me. So we'll see what happens in the next few volumes and see if I change my mind. Sometimes the first book in a series for me just doesn't do it, so I'll see what the next few volumes have in store. The next book that I read for April was Wind Witch by Susan Dennard, and I should have mentioned this with some earlier books, but this was part of my OWLs Read-a-thon. I read this for Defense Against the Dark Arts since it's set near or on a coastline, especially for a middle book where sometimes they can lag a little bit. I felt like even though this shows the journey, it still is really captivating and really interesting to read. The next book that I read was for Potions, and that is a book under 150 pages, and that is The Four Agreements, which is a wisdom-based book. So it goes through 4 different pillars of wisdom that everyone should use to lead their life and to lead it as happy as possible and as true to themselves as possible as well. I have read part of this book before, and I decided to do a reread and read the full thing this month since, again, it's under 150 pages and I also have it and own it and have been wanting to read it. After reading it again, I think this is brilliant. It's an amazing book, obviously 5 out of 5 stars. It's one of those books that you should read if you're finding ways to improve yourself or improve your life, and it's something that I'm going to be reading again and again over the next few years. It's going to be a staple in my collection. I also tabbed it because I wanted to make sure that I can go over important points when I'm feeling stuck or in kind of a rut, then I can go back to them. So I recommend this highly to anyone that likes self-help books but likes ones that are really to the point but also give examples to help understand the material better. This was a good one. The next book that I read was for Transfiguration, and that one is Assassin's Blade. This is the prequel to the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I think in previous videos I said that I was never really going to read this series, and I ended up buying the entire box set because I heard such good things about it, especially after reading the Folk of the Air series. And I had put a poll on Instagram and on Twitter to see which one I should start with, either Assassin's Blade or Throne of Glass, because as many of you know, Throne of Glass was published before Assassin's Blade, which is the prequel, but I got a lot of people telling me that I should read Assassin's Blade first because it really helps you understand the background for Selena, which is how I think you pronounce her name. And at first I didn't know that I was gonna like it. Sometimes prequels confuse me or bore me because they are based on novellas of a character that I don't know, but I ended up being really surprisingly captivated by this book, and even though the writing style was not my cup of tea at the beginning, I ended up really enjoying it in the end, and I'm really excited to read Throne of Glass for the month of May, which is going to be one of my May reads in my May TBR. So this is actually seeming to be an interesting series. I'm invested in the main character and I love a good female assassin story. So if there are any other female assassin fantasies out there that I don't know about, please let me know. I would absolutely love to read them. Please comment down below any of the titles that you know about. The last book is actually a graphic novel, and this is the one that I was talking about earlier and how much I loved it, and oh my god, this blew me away. The art style, the writing style, the story itself just got me so hooked, and that is Monstrous. Now, at the beginning of this book, I really wasn't sure about it. I didn't think that I was going to like it. It seemed confusing and I didn't know where the story was going, but as you continue to read, it is really compelling and it is actually really complex, and that's not something that I was expecting from a graphic novel when you only have so many pages and so much space to write text. But this is truly just outstanding. I know that there's 4 volumes out right now, and I've bought the first 3. The 4th one is on its way to me, which I'm really excited, and I read the first one. I know the 5th one you can pre-order for September, which I'm also planning to do because it is so amazing. I highly recommend this. Definitely 5 out of 5 stars. I discovered this from another booktuber. Her name is Spew Deserves Better, and I will link her channel down below so you can go check her out. She has some fantastic recommendations, and this was one of them. I definitely want to give her some credit because I'm so excited that I picked this up. I'll just show you guys the artwork again. I know I showed it in one of my hauls, but I just wanted to get you to see how amazing this is. I don't know if the camera can focus, but It's so beautifully done. And it's so cute. The aesthetic is pretty dark. It's got this like dark blue, dark grim aesthetic, and it is amazing. This would also be a good book if you're planning on participating in the Asian Readathon, as it is illustrated by a Asian Japanese illustrator, and I think that would pretty much count. Highly recommend Monstrous to anyone that's trying to get into more graphic novels. I will warn you, it is gory and there are a few trigger warnings, but other than that, it is fantastic if you can get past those trigger warnings. So this was my April wrap up. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen my May TBR, I suggest that you go watch that one so that you can see what books I'm reading in the month of May. Please let me know if you've read any of these books before and let me know what you thought of them. And if you have any books that you think I should read and you'd like to recommend, please comment down below. I'm always looking for more books to haul, and I love doing book haul videos, so I am always looking for recommendations. If you liked watching this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. That really helps support me and support the content that I'll be putting out for you in the future. Thank you so much for watching.